Almost 800 prospecting calls this week, and most of them went nowhere. I walked into a school to introduce myself and left with a warning. That one stung. My 3-day cleanse fell apart on day 3, and Felipe and I canceled our camping trip. But honestly, it was one of the best weeks in a while. Let me explain why. Let's start with the hustle side, because business, it's been moving. My primary focus right now has been growing my teacher retirement business, and this week I conducted 13 retirement review appointments, did 4 BNI one-to-ones, and went live simultaneously on Instagram and Facebook on Wednesday. And so far this past week, my colleague and I actually batted 100% conversion on the retirement reviews. And since I launched this in total, we're at 59% conversion, which I'm incredibly grateful for. I've also now made 770 prospecting calls, reconnecting with people who had previously booked retirement reviews with our team, but for one reason or another, we never got to connect with them. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Nearly 800 calls isn't glamorous. Nobody sees most of them. Many people don't answer, and some are not even interested. And some conversations go nowhere. But that's what consistency actually looks like. It's doing the boring thing long enough for the boring thing to compound into something exciting. And I'm seeing that same compounding effect on social media. I started my teacher retirement piece social media accounts around the middle of June, and we've already crossed 1,440 followers on Instagram with 90,000 views in the past 30 days, 800 followers on TikTok with 2,300 likes, 12,000 views on YouTube, and 13 new subscribers on that new channel, 25 followers on my new Facebook page for this business. That blows my mind, and it has God written all over it. I wanted to hire somebody to help me with content because between the appointments I'm running, prospecting, BNI, wellness, fitness, marriage, and everything else I'm juggling, there are definitely days where I feel stretched. But right now, hiring that help isn't really in the budget. So instead of saying, well, I can't do it, I'm asking, how can I do it? How can I leverage technology? How can I batch? How can I simplify? How can I create systems that allow me to scale to make this more sustainable? Because sometimes entrepreneurship isn't about having all the resources that you wish you had. It's about becoming resourceful with what you do have. And I got another business lesson this week that I was not expecting. So for the first time, I actually went to visit a school campus where we are an approved vendor to help them with their retirement planning. My intention was to build a relationship and personalize our interaction since we had just been emailing back and forth. So I went in to personally introduce myself. Well, I might as well have been kicked out because just after that, I got an email from their HR department that I need to stop harassing schools. So that's a vote for perseverance and failing forward for sure. Obviously, that was not my intention. And initially, that feedback stung a lot because I thought the front desk person and I had really hit it off. In fact, I even gifted her a Starbucks gift card to show her my appreciation. I have a sneaking suspicion, though, that maybe communication got a little bit muddled between that individual and HR, and maybe HR is thinking I'm harassing them because I never spoke to HR directly. That's not how this goes. But you know what? After thinking about things, I realized something. This is just data. And that data does not define me. And that's when I started realizing the importance of self-talk. And so rather than ruminate on that negative energy and feeling, which would then cause me to go in a downward spiral of failure and rejection, I decided to have my positive affirmations going in my head like a broken record. Because that's how we learn. And that's also how we get better. I would rather take action with good intentions, receive feedback, and adjust than sit on the sidelines forever because I'm afraid of doing something imperfectly. Disruption always follows intention. And so remember, don't panic. We need to pivot in order to persevere. And I'm taking that feedback as another reason to double down on my channels that are working, especially because in social media, I can actually reach many more people nationally than I can in person physically with luncheons. Meanwhile, I've still been quietly building my wellness affiliate business there on the side in the pockets of my schedule. And even though it's not the majority of my time like it was a few months ago, I am proud that I'm continuing to bring in new customers and nurture relationships. In fact, I'm 76% complete toward my next major milestone in that venture, which would unlock a significant bonus for me. And every time another customer comes in, you know what? We're just chipping away and we're helping people with their health. Speaking of health, let's talk about it because this week was interesting. If you remember last week, I talked about a 3-day tea cleanse reset with my Fit 6 challenge, and I completed it. Sort of. The first 2 days, I was pretty much spot on. I did add bone broth sooner than I was meant to. But you know what? I'm celebrating the fact that I did something really outside my comfort zone. But I also learned something important. If I'm ever going to do something like that again, I still need to prepare better. I thought I was prepared and I knew better because I was supposed to break my fast with some pineapple, and I bought a whole pineapple. When it came to slice that thing open, I was like, yeah, can't be bothered to do that. So I just ate a regular meal. Then, right when I was supposed to get back into my normal workout routine, we had to take our car into the shop. So one interruption became another interruption, and that's when I really noticed how fragile momentum can be. Before the cleanse, I was dialed in: nutrition, workouts, my macros, supplements, the routine, content creation for 2 brands, boom, boom, boom. Then one variable changed, followed by another, and suddenly I was having to rebuild that rhythm, which I'm still pretty much building right now. My cravings started to kind of come back in with all that stress, but you know what? I'm proud of the fact that I didn't use that as an excuse to completely fall off the bandwagon. So nutritionally, I pretty much stayed on track. I weighed in the day that I broke my fast before, of course, eating, and I was actually down to 125 pounds, although I'm sure a good portion of that initial drop was water weight. I wasn't able to get to Fit 6 to do my Staiku scan that week, which I would have loved to have seen that scan, but because of the car situation, I didn't have the opportunity to go in. But you know what? I was able to see some progress, and I'm okay with that. I'm still moving toward that goal of washboard abs. Even though they're not here yet, they're getting pretty close. The cleanse also disrupted my supplement routine because obviously I wasn't eating, and you don't really want to take supplements on an empty stomach. It's been a bit of a challenge. I take like 20 pills in a day, so I'm having to slowly build that routine back up. Rather than trying to do everything immediately out the gate, again, it's important to ease back into it, just like working out. If you haven't worked out in a long time and suddenly you go from squatting 0 to 300 pounds, you're going to hurt yourself. Moving on to the other pillar, let's talk about heart. And that brings me to the relationship side of everything. So Philippe and I were actually supposed to go camping this weekend, but with him transitioning to working nights and me waking up basically at the crack of dawn, our schedules have completely been upside down. So it's like we're 2 ships passing in the night right now, but it's temporary. And that's when we realized we're tired. We don't need another adventure right this second. What we do need is rest. Sleep is everything. So instead of forcing ourselves to go camping because it was on the calendar, and of course I would have loved to have gone, we changed the plan. We pivoted. And honestly, I'm glad that we did because we got some much needed R&R. We went back to the wellness center together. And this time we actually got inside the hyperbaric chamber together. And Scott, the owner of the wellness center, gave us some prompts to ask each other while we were in there. And what started as a wellness experience became this really meaningful marriage experience. We got to talk, ask each other deeper questions, reconnect, and just be present with one another. Because lately, quality time hasn't been as automatic as it normally is because our schedules aren't lining up. We're both out there building things, we're hustling, and we're both tired. It reminded me that relationships need intentionality too. You can be incredibly disciplined about your business. You can track your macros. You can make hundreds of calls. You can chase every single goal on your checklist and on your vision board. But what is it all worth if that person, those people you love, only get whatever scraps of your attention are left? That's something that I'm continuing to work on because obviously I'm ambitious. I have massive goals, but I also want a life worth living while I'm building them. And that's really what this channel is all about: heart, health, and hustle. It isn't choosing one, it's figuring out how all 3 can coexist. And some weeks, one area is going to need more attention than another, and that's the teeter-totter of life. The goal isn't about perfect balance, the goal is awareness, knowing when to push, knowing when to pivot, and knowing when to rest. So if your week didn't go exactly according to plan either, maybe you need this reminder too. A disrupted routine does not mean you've lost your discipline. You don't have to wait until Monday. You don't have to wait until next month, and you don't need another dramatic restart. Take the next right action, then another, then another, momentum will come back. Remind yourself of who you are becoming in your self-talk every single day. This week reminded me that I keep my word. I do hard things, I adapt, and when something isn't working, I'm willing to change it. That's not failure, that's growth. So this coming week, my focus is simple. Keep rebuilding my fitness rhythm, keep serving my retirement clients, keep making those calls and creating content, and keep chipping away at the wellness milestone. Most importantly, keep making space for the people and the things that make all of this worth doing in the first place. Because the goal was never just to build a successful business and make a lot of money. The goal is to build a life worth living. Heart, health, and hustle. I will see you guys next week.